The words hit me like a physical blow. "Dad, why did you abandon me?" My son Alex stood there, his eyes red, his face a mixture of accusation and deep, raw hurt. He was only 15, but in that moment he looked a decade older, burdened by something I couldn't comprehend. I dropped the coffee mug I was holding, shattered on the kitchen tiles, sending ceramic shrapnel across the floor, a perfect mirror for my insides. "Alex, what are you talking about?" My voice was a croak. Abandon him? Me? The man who had coached his little league, built his treehouse, stayed up all night with him when he had the flu. The man who lived and breathed for him. It was absurd, a nightmare. He didn't yell. He just stood there shaking his head, a single tear tracing a path down his cheek. "Mom said you just left, that you didn't want us anymore, that you packed a bag and disappeared." My stomach lurched. My wife, Sarah. She had told him this? When? Why? We were still living together. We were still a family. Or so I thought. We had our problems, sure, every marriage does. But abandon Alex? That was a lie so monstrous, so utterly evil it stole the air from my lungs. "Alex, that's not true. I've never left you. Not for a single day. I've been here, always." I took a step towards him, wanting to pull him into a hug, to reassure him, but he flinched back. The flinch cut deeper than any knife. "My son, scared of me, because of a lie. She said you just decided one day to go. She said she tried to make you stay, but you didn't care." His voice cracked. "She said you were tired of being a dad." My knees felt weak. I leaned against the counter, the broken mug forgotten. This was beyond marital problems. This was an attack, a poisoning of the deepest bond I had. Sarah had weaponized my son against me, twisting a reality into something vile. What kind of person does that? What kind of mother? "Alex, I swear to you, on everything I love, that is a lie. Your mother has told you a terrible, awful lie. I have never ever thought of abandoning you. I love you more than life itself." I spoke slowly, carefully, trying to keep my voice steady, but the tremor was undeniable. He stared at me, searching my eyes. For a long moment, there was just silence, broken only by my ragged breathing and the thumping of my own frantic heart. Then, he spoke again, his voice quieter this time, tinged with a new kind of pain. I thought it was weird, because you are always here. But she was so convincing. She cried when she told me. My blood ran cold, she cried. She put on a show for our son, a performance of a heartbroken mother abandoned by a callous father. The sheer manipulative power of it made me sick. "What made you bring this up now, Alex?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I needed to know. Why today? Why this morning after a perfectly normal breakfast? A normal week? A normal life? He hesitated, then slowly reached into the pocket of his hoodie. He pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, unfolded it with trembling hands and held it out to me. It was a printout, a travel itinerary. My eyes focused on the details. 2 plane tickets, round trip to Aruba. Not for me, not for us. The names jumped out. Sarah Miller and Mark Thompson. The dates were for next month. Mark Thompson. My blood ran cold again, but this time it was a different kind of cold, a chilling recognition. Mark Thompson was a guy Sarah worked with. I'd met him at a few company events, friendly enough, tall. A bit too slick for my taste, but just a colleague. Right, the plane tickets, Aruba, her crying performance, the lie about me abandoning him. It all clicked into place with a sickening thud. She wasn't planning on me abandoning anyone. She was planning on abandoning us. She was preparing the ground, laying the groundwork for her exit. making me the villain so Alex wouldn't hate her, so she could leave with a clear conscience, or at least a clear path. My vision blurred. The world spun. The betrayal was a multi-layered monster, each layer more hideous than the last. She wanted to leave me. Fine, we could have talked about it. But to poison my son's mind, to destroy his trust in me, to paint me as a monster, all while planning to run off with another man, that was pure evil. Where did you find these, Alex? My voice was tight, barely a whisper. In her bedside table, in a shoebox. She keeps old letters and stuff in there. I was looking for my old baseball card collection, she said she put away for me. He looked at me, a glimmer of understanding starting to dawn in his eyes as he saw the raw pain and fury etched on my face. Dad, is it true? About Mark Thompson? I couldn't speak. I just shook my head, my eyes fixed on the tickets. 2 tickets to paradise paid for by God knows what. Likely our shared savings, while I was here, working, paying bills, thinking we were just a normal family having a tough patch. She was going to leave with him, wasn't she? Alex's voice was small, vulnerable. The lie about me abandoning him had shattered his world. Now, the truth about his mother was starting to reshape it into something even more terrifying. Yes, Alex, I finally managed to say, the words catching in my throat. Yes, she was. I crumpled the tickets in my hand, feeling the cheap paper tear. My entire life, my entire perception of my marriage was tearing apart. Just like that paper. The man I was, the father I believed myself to be, was being redefined in the most brutal way. My son, my innocent, trusting son, had been caught in the crossfire of his mother's monstrous deceit. And I had no idea how to fix any of it. Pain was so profound it felt like my chest was cracking open. I had to face her. I had to confront the woman who had shared my bed, my life, my child, and had been capable of such unimaginable cruelty. I had to do it for Alex and for myself. But first, I had to pick up the pieces of the shattered mug and the shattered pieces of my heart. The air in our house felt thick, suffocating. Every breath was a struggle. Alex had retreated to his room, probably trying to make sense of the new horrifying reality. The silence that followed his discovery was deafening, amplified by the storm brewing inside me. I had to confront Sarah. But how? What words could even begin to address a betrayal of this magnitude? I found her in the living room, scrolling through her phone, looking perfectly serene. Too serene. A mask. My blood ran cold, then hot. This calm, ordinary woman was a master of deception. She looked up, a small, polite smile on her face. Rough morning, honey? You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse than a ghost, Sarah, I said, my voice dangerously low. I've seen the truth. I held up the crumpled plane tickets, their ripped edges like jagged teeth. Her eyes widened, just a fraction. A flicker of surprise quickly replaced by something else. Annoyance, anger, defensiveness. What is that? She asked, her voice sharper now. And why are you going through my things? Don't even. Start. I bit back, each word dripping with venom. Alex found them, in your shoebox, along with the lie you fed him about me abandoning him. Her face went blank for a second. A flash of fear in her eyes, then it hardened. Alex told you that? He's a child. He misunderstands things. He misunderstands that his mother told him his father was a heartless monster who walked out on him. My voice rose, raw with emotion. He misunderstands the plane tickets to Aruba for you and Mark Thompson. She stood up then, facing me fully. Her composure was unsettling. It's not what you think, she said, her voice dropping, almost a whisper, as if trying to soothe a wild animal. Mark is just a colleague. We were planning a work trip, a conference. To Aruba, in a month? Just the two of you, I scoffed. And the lie about me abandoning Alex, was that part of the work trip too? Was that the pre-conference briefing? Her face twisted. The mask was cracking. That's between me and Alex. You don't know what you are talking about. You haven't been there for us, John. You are always working, always distant. I had to make him understand why things were the way they were. You had to make him understand by slandering me, by destroying his image of his father, by making him believe I was capable of abandoning him. A child, my own son. My voice was trembling now, not with anger alone, but with the profound pain of her words. You just admitted it, Sarah. You told him that lie. Why? So you could run off with your lover, and Alex would think it was my fault. So he wouldn't hate you. She recoiled, her eyes blazing. Lover, don't be so dramatic. We were having problems, John. We have been for years. You never listened. You never cared. I was unhappy. What was I supposed to do? You were supposed to talk to me. You were supposed to be an adult. You were supposed to be a mother, I yelled, my voice cracking. You don't get to poison our son's mind and then blame me for it. You don't get to plan a secret life with another man and then pretend I am the problem. He's been so clingy lately, she hissed, her voice low and sharp. Always asking where you are, why you are not around. I had to give him an explanation. He needed to understand that sometimes people leave. People like you, Sarah. I shot back, the sarcasm bitter on my tongue. Is that what you were preparing him for? Your grand exit? She turned away from me, walking to the window, her back to me. I was unhappy, she repeated, her voice softer, almost a whine. I deserved to be happy. And your son? What about his happiness? What about his trust? You broke him, Sarah. You shattered him, and you tried to make me responsible for it. My chest ached with every word. The depth of her selfishness was breathtaking. He'll get over it, she muttered, still not looking at me. Kids are resilient. That was the last straw. Resilient? He's 15. You told him his father, the man he loves and trusts, just walked out on him. You broke his heart, and then you tried to break mine by proxy. You broke our family, Sarah, for a fling with a guy from work. She spun around, her eyes wide, furious. It's not a fling. He understands me. He makes me feel alive. More alive than your own son, apparently, I said, the words cutting through the air. Because you were willing to sacrifice Alex's mental well-being, his innocence, his trust in both of us, just so you could feel alive with Mark Thompson. She opened her mouth, probably to hurl more accusations, but I cut her off. Get out, Sarah. Her jaw dropped. What? Get out, I repeated, my voice now calm, steady, and chillingly final. I want you out of this house now. Take whatever you need for tonight, but I want you gone. We'll deal with the rest later, through lawyers. You don't get to poison my son's mind and live under my roof. Not anymore. She stared at me, a mixture of shock and indignation on her face. You can't do that. Oh, I can. And I am. You've shown your true colors, Sarah. You've shown me what kind of person you are, what kind of mother you are. I can't look at you anymore. And Alex doesn't need that in his life. He needs stability. He needs honesty. Things you clearly can't provide. She opened her mouth again, but no sound came out. She just stood there, her face a mask of disbelief and dawning fear. The tables had turned. She had planned to leave to control the narrative, to play the victim. But she had been exposed, and now she was being kicked out. Now, I said, pointing towards the door. Or I call the police and have you escorted out for trespassing. Your choice. For a long moment she just stood there, breathing heavily, her eyes still blazing. Then, with a huff of defiance, she spun on her heel and stormed towards the stairs. I heard her rummaging, heard a suitcase being pulled out, the sounds of a frantic packing. I didn't care. All I cared about was Alex. And the long, agonizing road ahead of us to put the pieces back together. The pieces of him and the pieces of me. The sound of Sarah's car pulling out of the driveway was the loudest silence I'd ever heard. It wasn't a triumphant sound, not a moment of victory. 'Twas the heavy thud of a door closing on a life I'd thought I knew, on a family I'd believed was solid. The house felt empty, yet paradoxically it also felt like it could finally breathe. The air, once thick with lies, now just felt cold. I went straight to Alex's room. He was sitting on his bed, earbuds in, staring blankly at his phone. I knew he was just trying to drown out the noise of his shattered world. I sat beside him, gently pulling one earbud out. He jumped, startled, then looked at me, his eyes still red and swollen. "She's gone, buddy," I said, my voice soft. "She's not coming back tonight." He nodded slowly, not looking surprised. He must have heard the argument, heard her leaving. The knowledge that his mother was gone, even after her terrible betrayal, still hurt him. It hurt me too. Divorce is a death, even when it's necessary. "Are you okay?" I asked, knowing it was a stupid question. He wasn't. I wasn't. He shrugged. "I don't know, Dad. I don't get it. Why would she say that about you? Why would she do this?" His voice was a raw whisper. "I don't know either, Alex," I admitted, my throat tight. "Not fully. But what I do know is that it was wrong. All of it. And it had nothing to do with you or with me. This was her choice. Her problems, not ours." He looked at me, really looked at me. "But she said..." I know what she said. I interrupted gently. "And it was a lie. A hurtful, terrible lie. I want you to know, with every fiber of your being, that I have never, not for 1 second, thought of leaving you. You are my son. You are my world, and I will always be here for you, always." I put my arm around him, and this time, he didn't flinch. He leaned into me, and for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt a flicker of hope. The bond wasn't broken. It was bruised, battered, but still there. Stronger, even forged in the fires of deceit. We sat there for a long time, just holding each other. Eventually, he fell asleep, exhausted by the emotional turmoil. I stayed there, thinking. The initial shock had given way to a cold, hard resolve. This wasn't just about my hurt feelings. This was about protecting my son. This was about justice. The next morning, after Alex left for school, I made the call. "I need a divorce lawyer," I told the receptionist. "And I need someone who specializes in complicated cases. T here is a child involved." I had an appointment that afternoon. Mr. Harrison was an older gentleman, calm and steady. I laid it all out for him. The lie to Alex, the plane tickets, Mark Thompson, Sarah's departure. He listened patiently, taking notes. "This is serious, Mr. Miller," he said, pushing his glasses up his nose. Parental alienation is a very significant issue in family court. Attempting to poison a child's relationship with the other parent is viewed very dimly. And the evidence of the affair, especially the premeditation of travel, will also be significant. "What do I need to do?" I asked, feeling a strange mix of dread and determination. "First, document everything. Keep those tickets. Make copies. Any texts, emails, anything that suggests the affair. Any instances where she has tried to turn Alex against you in the past, even if you dismissed them at the time. Write it all down with dates if you can remember them. I started thinking back. Sarah had been different for a while, not just distant, but subtly critical. She'd made comments like, "Your dad's too busy for that, Alex," or "Don't bother your dad, he has more important things." At the time, I just thought she was being overprotective, or a bit passive-aggressive. Now I saw the insidious groundwork. She wasn't protecting him. She was slowly chipping away at his trust in me. Mr. Harrison continued, "Secondly, focus on Alex. His emotional well-being is paramount. Make sure he knows you are there for him. Consider family therapy. It shows the court you are prioritizing his healing." "And Sarah?" I asked. "She will likely try to paint you as the villain, or deny everything, or twist the narrative," he predicted. "With the evidence you have, and Alex's testimony, her position will be weak. We will pursue full custody, citing her detrimental actions towards Alex's emotional health and her attempt at parental alienation. Financially, we'll need to secure your assets. I'll need to see all your joint accounts, savings, investments." I felt a wave of nausea. Checking bank accounts, combing through our shared life for evidence of her treachery. It felt dirty, but it was necessary. "And if she tries to come back," I asked, "do not let her in. All communication goes through me. Block her on your phone for now, or just don't respond. She's likely to try and manipulate you, or Alex, into letting her back in before the legal process starts." I spent the rest of the day in a blur, going through old emails, bank statements, trying to reconstruct the timeline of Sarah's deception. I found suspicious credit card charges, expensive dinners at restaurants I'd never been to, flowers, a weekend getaway at a boutique hotel I didn't recognize. Each discovery was another stab to the heart. The financial betrayal was almost as painful as the emotional one. She wasn't just planning to leave me. She was spending our money, my hard-earned money, on her affair. It was a systematic dismantling of my life, piece by piece. The lie to Alex was the ultimate weapon, aimed at the deepest part of my soul. But I wouldn't let her win. Not now. I would fight for Alex, for his trust, for his future. And I would expose her for the cruel, manipulative person she truly was. The battle had just begun. The house was quieter without Sarah, but not peaceful. It was the silence of a wound, still raw and open. My main focus became Alex. Every fiber of my being was dedicated to him, to rebuilding the trust she had so carelessly shattered. "Dad, what if Mom comes back?" he asked one evening, his voice small, as we were making dinner. We were making pizza from scratch, something we used to do often, trying to find bits of normal in the chaos. "She won't be coming back to live here, buddy," I said, kneading the dough. "Not now, not ever. The lawyers will handle it. But you'll see her. We'll figure out a way for that to happen safely." It was a lie. I didn't want him to see her, not after what she'd done. But I knew cutting her out completely would be another kind of wound for him, especially a teenager. "But what about her being my mom?" he asked, his eyes wide and confused. "Does she still love me?" This was the hardest question. How do you explain to a child that their mother, the person who brought them into the world, could be capable of such callous disregard? "Alex," I started, carefully choosing my words, "I don't know what's in your mom's heart right now, but what she did, telling you that lie, was wrong. It was incredibly hurtful. It was unfair to you, and it was unfair to me, but why?" he pressed. "Why would she do that?" "People do bad things sometimes, Alex," I said, looking at him directly. "Sometimes they're hurting, sometimes they're selfish. Sometimes they're trying to make themselves look better by making someone else look worse. I don't have all the answers for why your mom did what she did. But her actions don't change my love for you. And they don't change that I would never, ever abandon you. Do you understand that?" He nodded slowly, needing his own small ball of dough, I guess. It just feels weird. Like I don't know who she is anymore. I know the feeling, buddy, I said, forcing a small smile. I am feeling it too, but we'll figure it out. Together. We started spending all our time together. After school, we'd talk. At dinner, we'd talk. I'd pick him up from basketball practice, and we'd talk about his day. I asked him about his friends, about school, about anything that came to mind. I wanted him to feel heard, seen, and utterly secure in my presence. We watched movies, played video games, and even went for long walks in the park, something we hadn't done in years. He started opening up more. He admitted that Sarah had been telling him subtle things for months. She'd say, "Your dad's always so busy. He probably doesn't even notice you are home." Or, "It's hard being a single parent sometimes, isn't it?" He mimicked her tone perfectly. My blood boiled. She had been playing this cruel game for so long, right under my nose. She made it sound like she was doing everything, didn't she? I asked, my voice tight. He nodded. Yeah. She'd complain about you not helping, even when you were working a lot. And then she started saying you were just distant, like you didn't care about us as much anymore. And you believed her? I asked, trying to keep the hurt out of my voice. He looked down, ashamed. Yeah, I guess so. She was so sad when she said it. She cried sometimes. I felt bad for her. This was the core of the wound. He had believed his mother's performance, his empathy used against him. It's okay that you believed her, Alex, I said, putting a hand on his shoulder. She's your mom. You are supposed to trust her. She twisted that trust. That's on her, not on you. We went to a therapist. It was Mr. Harrison's suggestion for Alex and for me. The first session was hard. Alex was quiet, reserved. But the therapist, a kind woman named Dr. Evans, was patient. She encouraged him to draw, to write, to talk about his feelings. I just listened, offering support. Slowly, Alex started to articulate his pain. The confusion, the anger, the feeling of being tricked. I don't know if I can ever trust her again, he said one day, looking at Dr. Evans. She lied about something so big. About my own dad. Dr. Evans nodded. That's a very normal feeling, Alex. Trust takes a long time to build, and it can be broken very quickly. It's okay to feel that way. For my part, I found myself getting angry. Not just at Sarah, but at myself. How could I have been so blind? So oblivious? Was I really that bad a husband that she felt the need to destroy my relationship with my son? Dr. Evans helped me see that it wasn't my fault, that her actions were hers alone, and that I was a victim of her manipulation too. That the fact I didn't see it meant I trusted her, and that was a virtue, not a flaw. The process was slow. Some days were good, some were terrible. Alex would have moments of anger, yelling about his mom, about the unfairness of it all. Other days he'd be quiet, withdrawn, lost in thought. I let him feel it all. I was just there, a steady anchor in his storm. One night he came into my room, late. Dad? Yeah, buddy. I know you love me, he said, his voice sleepy. I know you'd never leave. My heart swelled. That was it. That was the victory. Sarah had tried to plant a seed of doubt to break us, but she had failed. Our bond, once assumed, was now forged in fire, stronger than ever. The trust was slowly, painstakingly, being rebuilt, and it was real. The days blurred into a routine of survival and healing. Mornings meant getting Alex ready for school, making sure he had a good breakfast, and a quick hug before he left. Days were a mix of work and calls with Mr. Harrison. Evenings were all about Alex, ensuring he felt secure and loved. But beneath this new routine, a cold determination simmered. I needed to understand the full extent of Sarah's deception. Not just for the divorce proceedings, but for my own sanity and for Alex's future. We needed to know what we were up against. Mr. Harrison had given me a list of things to gather. Bank statements, credit card bills, phone records, anything I could access. It felt like playing detective in my own life, and the discoveries were like fresh wounds, each one a testament to the secret life Sarah had been leading. I started with the joint bank accounts. Our primary checking and savings accounts were clean, thankfully. Sarah always had her own separate account, an older one from before we were married, which she mostly used for her personal shopping. I had no access to it, and that bothered me now. But our joint credit card statements were a goldmine of painful information. There were charges from high-end restaurants in the city, places we never went to. Dates coincided with her late nights at work or girls' nights out. There were charges from a luxury spa, gift shops. Then I found a series of charges from a specific boutique hotel chain, all in different cities, always on weekends. She claimed to be visiting her sister or attending a work conference. These weren't just flings. This was a sustained, ongoing affair. The first hotel charge was from almost a year ago. A whole year. My stomach churned. She had been living this double life for a year, lying to my face, sharing my bed, while planning her escape with another man. The identity of the lover, Mark Thompson, made it worse. He was a sales manager at her company, a charming guy everyone liked. I'd even had drinks with him at a company Christmas party. He'd looked me in the eye, shaken my hand, all while sleeping with my wife. The deceit was chilling. I managed to get access to our family phone plan's detailed billing. Her number showed a pattern of calls and texts to a specific number late at night, early in the morning, and during her work trips. I cross-referenced the number. It was Mark Thompson's work cell, then his personal cell. She'd been in constant communication with him, pouring her life into him, while offering me crumbs of her attention. The financial toll was not insignificant either. The dinners, the gifts, the hotel stays. It wasn't just pocket change. It was thousands of dollars, money that should have gone towards our son's education, or our retirement, or simply building a better life for our family. Instead, it was funding her betrayal. It felt like she was stealing from Alex and me to pay for her affair. I compiled everything into a neatly organized folder. Copies of statements, highlighted charges, call logs, the crumpled plane tickets. Each piece of paper was a dagger twisting in my gut. This wasn't just a discovery. It was an excavation of a buried truth, revealing the rotten core of my marriage. I met with Mr. Harrison again. He reviewed the new evidence, his expression grim. "This strengthens our case immensely, John," he said, tapping a pen on the stack of papers. "The financial misappropriation, the extent of the affair, and especially the deliberate attempt to alienate Alex against you. This paints a very clear picture of her character and her unfitness as a primary caregiver." "Unfitness?" I asked, a glimmer of anger and hope sparking within me. "Yes. Her actions demonstrate a severe lack of judgment and a willingness to cause emotional harm to her child for her own selfish ends. We will argue that her behavior makes her an unstable influence for Alex, and that your home provides the stability and protection he needs." A part of me wanted to confront Mark, to show up at his office, to expose him, to unleash the fury I felt. But Mr. Harrison advised against. "It won't help your case, John. It could even be used against you, painted as harassment. Let the legal process handle the consequences. Focus on Alex. Focus on the court." It was hard, excruciatingly hard to hold back. To know that the man who had helped destroy my family was out there, walking around, perhaps even gloating. But I knew Mr. Harrison was right. My priority was Alex. My priority was winning custody. My priority was rebuilding our lives. The humiliation was a constant companion. How many people knew? How many of Sarah's friends or Mark's had seen them together? Had they pitied me, laughed at me? The thought made me sick. I wanted to scream, to lash out, but I held it in. For Alex. Every day, the picture of Sarah became clearer. Not the woman I married, the one I thought I knew and loved, but a stranger, a calculating, selfish, manipulative stranger. And the pain of that realization was a heartbreak all its own. It wasn't just the loss of a wife, it was the loss of a shared past, a rewritten history that now felt like a cruel deception. The anger, however, was also a fuel, a cold, steady burn that propelled me forward. I would fight this, I would win, for Alex. The burning desire to confront Mark Thompson was a persistent ache, a buzzing in my brain, felt primal, a need to face the person who had helped dismantle my life. Mr. Harrison's advice to hold back was logical sound, but logic didn't quiet the storm inside me. One afternoon, I was picking Alex up from school, waiting in the car line when I saw her. Sarah's getting into a car that wasn't hers. It was a sleek, dark sedan. Mark Thompson's car. I'd seen it in the company parking lot. My blood ran cold, then hot. They were still together. Openly, apparently, picking up our son, or at least dropping by the school where our son attended, as if nothing had happened. A surge of pure, unadulterated fury coursed through me. He was there, just yards away, inside that car. My hands clenched on the steering wheel. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to get out, to walk over, to rip the car door open, and expose them both, right there in the school parking lot. But then I saw Alex walking towards my car, his backpack slung over his shoulder. He hadn't seen them yet. He was smiling, clearly looking forward to our drive home, our talk. I took a deep breath. Alex, always Alex. Causing a scene here in front of his school would only hurt him. It would give Sarah and Mark more ammunition to paint me as unstable. I couldn't risk. I forced myself to calm down, even as my heart hammered against my ribs. I pulled forward, picking up Alex, my eyes darting to Mark's car. It pulled away smoothly, disappearing around the corner. They looked like a normal couple just driving off. The injustice of it was a bitter taste in my mouth. Later that evening, after Alex was asleep, the anger finally boiled over. Couldn't confront Mark directly, but I could confront the idea of him, the betrayal he represented. I pulled out old photos of Sarah and me, our wedding day, our honeymoon, Alex's birth, family vacations. Each picture was a lie now, a frozen moment of a happiness that I realized had been, at least for her, a facade. I remembered little things. Sarah's sudden obsession with her appearance. New clothes, a new haircut, a glow I had attributed to her being happy. Thinking I was the reason, now I knew. It was Mark. Her phone always close by, her whispers into the phone claiming it was her sister. The late nights she said she was working on a big project. All lies. The emotional infidelity hurt almost as much as the physical. She hadn't just shared her body with him. She had shared her life, her thoughts, her worries, her joys, things she should have shared with me, her husband. Instead, she had invested them in another man, systematically building a new life while tearing ours apart. I felt like an idiot, a complete fool. How could I have been so blind, so trusting? Had our marriage really been so dead that she felt no remorse, no guilt in doing this? Or was she just a narcissist, incapable of empathy? The latter felt more likely now. The way she lied to Alex, so convincingly, so cruelly cemented that idea. I went through phases. Sometimes I felt profound sadness, mourning the loss of the future I thought we had. Other times it was cold fury, a desire for vengeance, but most often it was a quiet, seething anger that fueled my determination. I started thinking about Sarah's motivations. Was it just unhappiness? Or was it something deeper? A sense of entitlement? A need for constant validation? Her behavior, the premeditation of her exit plan. The elaborate lies painted a picture of someone who didn't just fall out of love, but actively sought to destroy. It was during these late-night reflections that I realized the real cost of this affair wasn't just my hurt, or the money spent. It was the damage to Alex. He was the innocent victim in all of this. He had to grapple with the truth that one of the two people he trusted most in the world had deliberately lied to him, not for his protection, but for her own selfish gain. That knowledge was a toxic poison for a young mind. And that brought me back to my purpose. This wasn't about me and Sarah anymore. This was about Alex, protecting him, ensuring his emotional well-being, giving him a stable, honest environment where he could heal and grow. Mark Thompson was just a symptom of Sarah's choices, a means to her selfish end. The true battle was for Alex's future, for his sense of self, and for his belief in love and trust. The legal battle ahead would be ugly. Sarah would fight. She wouldn't go down quietly. But I had the truth on my side, and I had my son. That was all I needed to win. I would face whatever came head on. The day we filed for divorce felt heavy, like the air before a storm. Mr. Harrison had prepared everything meticulously. Petition detailed Sarah's affair, the financial drain, and most critically, her attempts at parental alienation. I signed the papers, each stroke of the pen a final severance, a grim declaration of war. The first court hearing was a nightmare. Sarah was there, accompanied by her own lawyer, a sharp, unsmiling woman who looked like she'd been carved from granite. Sarah herself looked different. Her hair was perfectly styled, her makeup flawless. She gave me a look of practiced sadness, a performance for the public, for the court. Her lawyer immediately launched into a counter-narrative. I was the distant husband. She was the lonely wife, seeking comfort elsewhere because I was emotionally unavailable. My long work hours were framed as neglect. My attempts to keep things together were painted as controlling. It was a familiar script, a well-worn path for accused spouses. But then my lawyer, Mr. Harrison, spoke. He didn't yell or get emotional. He simply laid out the facts calmly and methodically. He presented the plane tickets, a blown-up copy of them visible to the judge. He detailed the suspicious credit card charges, the hotel stays. Then he moved to the heart of it. Sarah's direct confession to Alex about me abandoning him. Sarah's lawyer tried to object, claiming hearsay. But Mr. Harrison explained Alex's direct exposure to the lie and his subsequent emotional distress. He emphasized the specific intent of parental alienation. Sarah herself spoke, her voice trembling slightly. I was just trying to protect my son, she claimed, looking at the judge with tearful eyes. John was so absent. Alex was confused. I was just trying to help him understand why his father wasn't around as much. So you fabricated a story about his father abandoning him? The judge asked, her voice calm but firm. Sarah hesitated. I just used a poor choice of words. I meant he was emotionally unavailable. And the plane tickets to Aruba with Mr. Thompson. The judge continued, unblinking. Sarah stammered. That was a business trip, Your Honor, a conference. Conference in Aruba with a single colleague paid for on your personal credit card, with no company expense reports. The judge raised an eyebrow. And the several other hotel stays that coincide with times you were supposedly out of town for other reasons? Sarah finally seemed to crumble a bit. Her veneer cracked. She started blaming me more directly, raising her voice, accusing me of being jealous and vindictive. It was exactly what Mr. Harrison had predicted. She was losing control. The judge, however, seemed unmoved. She scheduled a follow-up hearing and ordered a guardian ad litem, a lawyer appointed by the court to represent Alex's best interests, to meet with Alex and me and with Sarah. This person would assess the home environments and Alex's wishes and well-being. Leaving the courthouse, I felt a strange mix of exhaustion and vindication. Sarah stalked past me, her eyes shooting daggers. She knew she was losing ground. The guardian ad litem, Miss Davies, was a young, kind woman. She met with Alex alone first, then with me. Alex was surprisingly articulate. He recounted the day he found the tickets, the conversation with his mom, her lie, and his growing understanding of the truth. He spoke about how much I had done for him, how present I was, and how much his mom's lie had hurt him. He told her about therapy, about our talks. When Miss Davies spoke with me, I simply reiterated what Alex had said, focusing on his emotional state. I showed her the evidence I had compiled. I told her I just wanted what was best for Alex, a stable home, free from deceit. Meeting with Sarah and Miss Davies was another ordeal. Sarah tried to charm Miss Davies to spin the story, but Miss Davies was too experienced. She gently but firmly questioned Sarah about the lie, about the affair, about her priorities. Sarah's answers became increasingly defensive and sometimes contradictory. She even tried to subtly blame Alex, saying he was difficult or moody, implying his reaction to her lie was overblown. It was sickening to watch. The emotional strain on Alex was immense, even though he didn't have to testify in open court yet. The interviews, the questions, the constant revisiting of the trauma took its toll. He became quieter at school, sometimes irritable at home. I tried my best to give him space, to listen, to reassure him that he wasn't alone. "I just want it to be over, Dad," he said one night, his head in his hands. "Me too, buddy," I replied, pulling him into a hug. "Me too. But we're almost there. We're fighting for what's right, for you." This wasn't just a divorce. It was a battle for my son's heart, for his truth, for his future. And I was ready for whatever came next. Sarah had shown her hand, and now it was my turn to play mine. Court proceedings, even the quiet behind-the-scenes parts, felt like they were happening under a magnifying glass. News of the divorce, and the scandalous reasons behind it, began to seep into our wider circle. Our friends, neighbors, even some of Alex's teachers. The whispers started. Some friends were immediately supported. My best friend Mark, different Mark, thankfully, this one trustworthy, came over almost every night for the first few weeks, just to sit with me, listen, and offer practical help. Other friends, mutual friends of Sarah and me, were awkward. They didn't know what to say or who to believe. Some seemed to take Sarah's side, buying into her narrative of the distant husband. That hurt, but it was expected. Then there were the outright gossips, people who clearly enjoyed the drama. I saw their pitying looks, the hushed conversations whenever I walked into a room. It was humiliating, but I forced myself to ignore it. My focus was Alex and the legal battle. Sarah, predictably, wasn't idle on the public relations front. She started calling mutual friends, telling them her version of events. I was controlling, abusive, neglectful. She was the poor, suffering wife who finally broke free. She omitted, of course, the part about the affair or the lie to Alex. She painted herself as the victim and me as the aggressor. "Your mom called me a friend," Susan said hesitantly one day. "She said you are being really difficult and that you kicked her out for no reason." "Did she tell you why I kicked her out, Susan?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "Did she tell you about Mark Thompson or about telling Alex I abandoned him?" Susan went silent. "Number? She didn't mention that." "Well, now you know," I said. "I am fighting for my son, Susan, to protect him from her lies. That's all I am doing." Some people believed me, some didn't. It became clear who my true friends were. The ones who listened, who asked questions, who didn't jump to conclusions. The ones who simply offered support. Alex started facing it at school too. Kids are observant. They notice things that change in our household. Sarah's absence. "Hey, Alex, is your mom like dating someone new?" a kid asked him during lunch. Alex told me about it later, his face flushed with embarrassment and anger. It was Kevin. He said his mom said she saw my mom with some guy a lot. My heart ached for him. "What did you say?" "I just said it was none of his business," he mumbled. "But everyone's talking, aren't they?" "Some people are, Alex," I admitted. "People talk. It's not fair, but it happens. What matters is that you know the truth, and the people who truly care about you know it too." I called the school counselor and explained the situation. She was understanding and offered Alex support if he needed it. We also worked on coping strategies. If someone asks, I told Alex, you can say, "My parents are going through a divorce, and it's a private family matter. You don't have to explain anything to anyone if you don't want to." Slowly, he started to adopt that. It gave him a sense of control, a way to protect himself from the prying eyes and the whispers. He also started to lean into our new routine more, finding comfort in the stability. Our evenings of pizza making, movie nights, and long talks became his refuge. The Guardian ad litem's report came back, and it was overwhelmingly in our favor. Miss Davies had seen through Sarah's performance. She noted Sarah's inconsistent explanations, her deflection of blame, and her lack of true remorse for the emotional harm she caused Alex. She recommended that I be granted sole physical custody, with Sarah having supervised visitation or therapeutic visitation, only when Alex was ready and willing. It was a huge win. But it wasn't over. Sarah's lawyer immediately filed objections, claiming the report was biased, that Alex had been coached. It was a desperate attempt, but it meant more hearings, more delays, more emotional toll. The public battle for narrative continued. Sarah posted vague martyr-like messages on social media, implying she was a victim of a cruel world. I stayed silent, following Mr. Harrison's advice to let the court handle it. The truth, I hoped, would speak for itself. It was a draining, relentless fight. Every day felt like an uphill climb. But seeing Alex slowly come back to himself, seeing the trust in his eyes, feeling his hand in mine, that was all the motivation I needed. We were in this together, and together we would emerge stronger. The final custody hearing was less of a roar and more of a whimper. Sarah's arguments had worn thin. The evidence against her, particularly the Guardian ad litem's report and Alex's consistent testimony during his interviews, was simply too strong. The judge ruled decisively. Sole physical custody to me. Sarah would have supervised visitation only, at Alex's discretion, and contingent on therapy for herself to address her manipulative behaviors. The lie about abandonment had been her undoing. The divorce itself was simpler, with the evidence of financial misconduct. Related to the affair, Sarah received significantly less in the settlement than she might have otherwise. It wasn't about money for me. It was about the principle. She had used our shared resources to fund her betrayal, and the court recognized that. Leaving the courthouse that day, I felt a profound sense of closure, but not triumph. It was bittersweet. The relief was immense, like a giant weight lifted from my chest. But the wreckage of my marriage, the pain Alex had endured, the loss of the life I'd envisioned, all remained. Sarah walked past us without a word, her face a mask of cold fury. She didn't even look at Alex. That, more than anything, confirmed to Alex the truth of who she really was. He saw it too. The woman who had claimed to love him so much, the one who cried to him about my abandonment, couldn't even look him in the eye when the truth came out. "It's over, Dad," Alex said, his voice quiet, almost reverent. "It's over, buddy," I confirmed, putting an arm around him. "Now we can finally heal." Healing was a slow, deliberate process. Alex continued with his therapy, and I joined him for some of the sessions. Dr. Evans helped him process his anger, his sadness, his confusion. She helped him understand that he was not responsible for his mother's choices, and that his worth wasn't tied to her actions. For me, therapy helped me deal with the betrayal, the humiliation, and the anger. It helped me recognize the signs of manipulation I had missed, not to blame myself, but to learn. It helped me grieve the loss of my marriage and the person I thought Sarah was. Our home slowly transformed. It was no longer a place shadowed by deceit. It became a sanctuary. We established new routines, new traditions. Friday night was still pizza night, but now it was our pizza night. We started a new hobby together, building model airplanes. It was a painstaking process requiring patience and precision, much like rebuilding our lives. Alex started thriving again. His grades improved, he rejoined his basketball team, and he reconnected with his friends. He still had his moments, of course. Sometimes a memory would trigger a wave of sadness or anger, but he had the tools to deal with it, and he knew I was always there to listen. His relationship with Sarah was minimal. Supervised visits were infrequent and often cut short by Alex. He simply didn't want to go. Sarah never showed remorse, never apologized. She always tried to spin the narrative, to play the victim, to somehow blame Alex for her own downfall. He learned to see through it. "She's still doing it, Dad," he'd say, shaking his head. "She's still lying." It was a painful education, but it was an important one. He learned the difference between true love and manipulation. I learned a lot too. I learned about resilience, about my own strength. I learned that true love isn't about grand gestures, but about consistency, honesty, and unwavering presence. I learned that family isn't just blood. It's trust, respect, and mutual support. The scars were still there, visible and invisible. The broken mug on the kitchen floor, a distant memory, but the metaphor remained. My life had shattered, but I was picking up the pieces, carefully, deliberately, and building something new, something stronger. The future felt uncertain, but also full of possibility. My relationship with Alex was stronger than ever. It had been forged in fire, stripped bare of illusions and rebuilt on a foundation of absolute truth and unconditional love. That was something Sarah, with all her lies and manipulations, could never take away from us. That was our victory. A year had passed since the divorce was finalized. The raw edges of the pain had dulled, replaced by a quiet strength. Our house, once a battleground of deceit, was now truly our home. It hummed with the energy of two lives moving forward, not forgetting the past, but not defined by it either. Alex was 17 now, taller, more confident. He was navigating the complexities of high school, looking at colleges, building his own future. The experience with his mother had undeniably shaped him, leaving a scar but also an incredible resilience. He was wise beyond his years, with a keen sense of honesty and a deep appreciation for genuine relationships. His contact with Sarah dwindled to almost nothing. She still attempted to reach out occasionally, usually with a vague, self-pitying message, never an apology. Alex rarely responded. He had found his peace. He didn't hate her. Not anymore. He simply understood her. And he understood that some relationships, no matter how foundational, could not be repaired if one party refused to acknowledge their wrongs. "She's just not who I thought she was, Dad," he'd said to me recently. "And that's okay. I have you." Those words were everything. They confirmed that we had done it. We had navigated the storm and our bond was unbreakable. My own healing journey had progressed. I still had moments of anger, of sadness, of questioning. But they were less frequent, less intense. I had reconnected with old friends, made new ones. I started dating again, cautiously, tentative. It was strange, learning to trust again, to open up to someone new after such a profound betrayal. But I was committed to living fully, not letting fear or bitterness define my future. I found myself reflecting on the concept of abandonment. Sarah had tried to use it as a weapon, to paint me as the villain. But in the end, it was she who had truly abandoned us. She abandoned her family, her vows, her integrity, and most tragically, her son's trust. My presence, my unwavering love, my fight for Alex had proven the lie. And in doing so, it had shown Alex what true presence, true love, really meant. We celebrated our new traditions. Alex graduated high school with honors, and I was bursting with pride. We took a father-son trip to the Grand Canyon, a long-planned adventure we'd always talked about. Standing on the rim, looking out at the vast, majestic landscape, I felt a profound sense of peace. Life was big, messy, beautiful. It had thrown us a curveball, a devastating one, but we had caught it. One evening, Alex and I were sitting in the living room talking about college applications. He paused, then looked at me. "You know, Dad," he said, "I used to be so angry. At Mom, at everything, but now, I am just grateful. Grateful that you were always there, that you fought for me. That you showed me what real family is." My eyes welled up. I reached out and clapped him on the shoulder. "Always, buddy, always." The story of the plane tickets, of the lie, was a part of our history now. A dark chapter, but one that had ultimately forged us into something stronger, something more authentic. It was a reminder of the fragility of trust, but also of the immense power of resilience and unconditional love. We had lost a wife and a mother, but we had found each other, deeper and truer than ever before. Our hearth, once broken, had been carefully pieced back together, warmer and brighter for the battle it had endured, and that, in the end, was all that mattered.